Hello everyone, my name is Lily. I've been a professional tarot reader for over a decade, and today I thought I would share with you one of my most popular spreads to help people when it comes to evaluating career options and career decisions. Now, this is a spread that I modify and I adjust depending on the client and their particular needs, but it's a really good baseline for helping people kind of evaluate their career options and really truly sit with whether or not a job is right for them, right? So I've kind of explained earlier just how important spreads are, but as part of my intro here, developing a tarot spread really helps the reading be more structured, more analytical, more clear. If you are one of those readers that just randomly pulls cards and just like goes off the top of your head, that is certainly one way to approach it. But in my experience, it's kind of messy. And maybe, I have a background in engineering. That's what I do for a living. And I like to think in terms of like analytical steps, like step 1, 2, 3, that kind of thing. I like to take a problem and pull it into different pieces. And having a spread is a very comprehensive, clear way to approach a problem. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for spreads, especially if you're a beginner reader. Make sure you use spreads because it helps guide and structure the problem-solving process that tarot can be very helpful with. So one of the most popular readings that I do is people working through challenges and decision making in their career. When someone comes to me for a career reading, like what should I do with my life? What kind of career is the best for me? Or I have these, 3 different job paths in front of me. What would be the best one for me? I always start the session by interviewing the client and pulling cards to reveal deeper insights into the client themselves. Because some people are made to be medical doctors, other people are made to be engineers, other people want to be, they want to work on the oil pipeline. Who knows? We're all different, we're all unique, and we all have different strengths and weaknesses when it comes to our personalities and what careers are going to suit us best. So the first thing that I will do is I will work with the client to pull cards to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, what they bring to the table, just really help them understand when they're evaluating a career, what are their personal metrics that help them establish whether or not a career will bring them happiness and contentment, right? And that varies by each person, right? Some people, they care a lot about money. They, if they get paid well, they don't care what they're doing. That is the number one deciding factor for them. Other people want a job that brings them purpose and fulfillment. Other people want a job or a career that acts as a social conduit in their life. Maybe having a really good company culture or a connection to the community really means a lot to them. So the first thing right off the bat that you want to do when you get a client who's trying to figure out what their career is, pull cards to help the client understand themselves, right? Maybe I will share that spread too, but definitely pull some cards on who they are, what matters to them, and interview them. As you're pulling cards, interview them. Say, hey, what kind of lifestyle do you want to lead? Is flexibility or remote work, is that direct impact on your happiness? Because there's a lot of different factors that go into whether or not a career is the best for you. So that's step 1, interviewing the client, figuring out what their needs are. Now let's say we get to the part where we have a job or jobs that we want to compare. I'm going to share with you the spread that I'm going to use, and the deck that I'm using today. It's very fun. The artwork is very whimsical. It's called Shadowland Tarot. The backings are just like this very silly it's just like the artwork itself. Let me show it to you. The artwork just makes me laugh every time I see it. It's like creepy, kind of colorful, Such fun, quirky artwork. Like it just makes me laugh every time I use this. It's got such a good vibe, such a good energy with it. The colors are like purples and yellows, which I wouldn't normally use, but it's a fun deck. It's a fun deck. It's lighthearted and it's fun. And of course it's got gold edging, which I'm a huge fan of. Okay, so I'm going to show you, like, let's say hypothetically you came to me and you were like, hey, I am offered a job. Should I take it? Should I take this particular job? So I'm going to shuffle, and as we did the interview process that I just explained, I work with this particular client and we narrow it down to 3 determining factors that are the biggest influences for this particular client. Number 1 is financial capability. Will this job provide financial security or meet the financial requirements for their particular lifestyle? How much are they going to get paid? Right? So that's number 1. Number 2, they care a lot about flexibility in the job. Will they have a boss who is supportive and understanding if they need to take time off of work or if they're sick? Or are they going to have just, someone who micromanages them, who breathes down their back and, keeps them on a tight leash, right? So flexibility is very important to this client. And then number 3, they care a lot about upward mobility within the company. So they want to know, how often am I going to be up for promotion? Are promotions even accessible? Is raises and bonuses, or those the kinds of things that I'm going to be rewarded with? Or am I going to work with this company for a long time and kind of stay in a particular area? So that kind of falls under like company culture for me. So as you interview the client, that's the first part, right? We want to know what is so important about this question to you, right? What about career is so important to you? Everybody is different, and this is what sets a really great tarot reader apart from a mediocre one, right? Mediocre tarot readers, people that are not personalizing their craft to the client, they'll just say, okay, I'm gonna pull cards, I'm gonna tell you stuff. And they don't actually get to know the client, get to know what matters to them, get to know, tell me exactly what about this question matters to you. And let's break it up into sections and let's pull cards for each section and let's talk about it. I've said this before, but you always want to respect the free will of the client, especially when it comes to decision making, because there are very few things in life, whether it be career or relationship or whatever, there are very few things in life where the decision is totally clear, where the decision is do this, don't do that. Most decisions are nuanced. Most decisions that we make, especially the difficult ones, they're not all good and they're not all bad. And especially the ones that we come for a tarot reading for help and guidance, it's because maybe there are unknown factors or there are things that we're not sure on. And so you always want to respect the free will of the client. You want to walk them through the conversation. You want to walk them through the reading. You don't want to just preach to them. That really makes a good tarot reader apart from a mediocre one. And you want to customize it to the client because not everyone has the same values when it comes to their questions, right? So definitely do your homework, do the legwork before. And this is one of the reasons why my sessions are an hour long, because we have to do that groundwork. We have to, understand the elements and the analysis of a question. All right, so next I'm going to pull several cards. So the first card is going to be the job itself. Overall, if we had to summarize, what is the overall energy experience of this job if you were to take this job itself? Next, I'm going to do the strengths and the weaknesses of this job for this particular client. What are the strengths that they're going to experience? What the benefit? What do they love? What is going to be great about the job? And the weaknesses, what are the challenges, the obstacles, the bad days? Next, I'm going to address the 3 criteria that this particular client finds important to them. Number 1 is pay. Number 2 is a flexible boss. And number 3 is upward mobility, promotions within the company. Again, this is going to vary depending on who you're reading for. Everyone has different priorities, so you want to make sure that you adjust the reading according to your client. All right, I'm going to pull some cards and we'll walk through this hypothetical reading. So the first one, the overall energy of the job. Beautiful card. I got the 9 of Cups, which we see in this artwork here is this happy, silly little whale. And he's spouting all this water, all these cups coming out, right? So this is very whimsical, this is very happy, this is very joyful, and it just shows abundance, right? So the 9 of Cups, cups represent our emotions, they represent kind of our feelings around things, and the 9s are just about plentiful, bountiful, surplus, your wishes coming true, that kind of thing. Like, I have plenty to share. So how I would interpret this card is emotionally, this job, if you were to take it, you would feel really satisfied. You would feel like you have a lot of really great emotional connection in the job. Maybe you emotionally connect with your coworkers. Maybe you are emotionally connecting with the purpose or the customers that you work with, depending on what that job is. So I would say the overall feel from the job would be more emotionally rewarding than anything else, right? So now, what are the strengths of this particular job? I got the King of Cups. Now this artist, again, cups again represent emotions. And for me, court cards represent personality aspects within ourselves or within others. So I would interpret court cards as either a personality aspect within yourself or someone that you're working with. The King of Cups, the king is someone who's mature, someone who has grown a lot in their job. So I would say the strengths would be either you would have a boss or a mentor that would be very emotionally supportive, that would help you in their leadership role, or you would become the King of Cups in this job. You would fulfill leadership positions and you would feel like emotionally supported, or that you emotionally support others, right? That's how I would describe the King of Cups. Now, the weakness of this job. 4 of Wands. Okay, so when we pull cards in the challenge position or in the weak position, you could also interpret that as being reversed, right? So 4 of Wands here, the artist has illustrated, this is talking about home life, home security. They've got, a little home tucked away. They've got a little family of spiders here. The artist, again, this deck is so whimsical and fun. It's so adorable every time I read with it. So I would interpret this card as saying the weakness in this job could be not that great of balance between, home and work. Maybe the home life that you want to have is not particularly achieved with this particular job. It could be that maybe you want to afford a particular home and you can't afford that home in this job, or maybe where the job is located is not really a place that you want to live for long term. There's something that has to do with the connection of your home life to this job that's going to provide some obstacles and weaknesses. So even though you are going to feel emotionally supported at your job, you have good emotional connections either with a boss or with the leadership within yourself. In terms of your home life experience, it's not going to be that great. You're going to have challenges in that aspect. All right, so the next thing is finances. Tell me, are we going to make money at this job? Not the best. I mean, okay, right? So I got the 9 of Wands, right? Which here, the artist has illustrated this with lots of fire energy. Someone's sitting down and they're studying very hard. They're reading a book and they've got a lot of energy around them. So this card for me in this particular artwork style of deck tells me that, especially because it's not a pentacle, like if I pull a pentacle card when it comes to the finance question, then usually that's a good sign that you're going to make good money at a job. This doesn't tell me that you're going to be broke. It's just going to be something that you work very, very hard for to get compensated. It's not going to be the easiest compensation. You're definitely going to have to put in the hours. You're going to have to spend a lot of energy here. So even though it's not going to be a job that you're going to be in poverty by any means, it's certainly not a job where money flows easily. It's going to require a lot of commitment and energy on your end. Okay, the second thing that was important to this client was flexibility and having a low-key boss. Perfect. Again, it confirms the King of Cups here. I got the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups is, again, cups representing emotions, court cards representing probably the boss, right? An individual. This is someone who's very fun, they're very outgoing, they're very easygoing. The artist has done this super, super cute, hilarious illustration of a fish wearing flippers and a floaty. Oh my God. It just encapsulates the idea of playfulness. So I would say in terms of your boss, expect someone who's playful, maybe a touch childish, right? Maybe a touch kind of playful, but they understand the flexibility and the easygoing attitude. They like an easygoing culture at work. So I would, deposit that this particular boss is someone who is flexible, who is accommodating to their employees, probably someone who does support remote work, or someone who understands that life comes up and work has to fit around our life. So someone who's definitely more relaxed. So that would be a really good sign for this client. And then finally, we want to know, how is promotions, upward mobility within the company? Let's see. That's so funny. I got another cup card. Here we got the Seven of Cups, which the artist has illustrated so whimsically, so funny. We see a young girl. She is holding all these different cups that are floating above her head. And in each cup, if you look closely, has something different. So they all have different possibilities. They all have different outcomes here. So the Seven of Cups, in this context, it's talking about lots of possibilities, lots of different opportunities. I would tell this client in this particular job, in terms of moving around the company or taking on different roles, taking on different positions, you're going to have lots of opportunities, lots of different hats that you could wear, right? If each one of these cups represent a different path or a different role within the company, you definitely have a lot of options. Now, I don't think these options directly relate to advancements in pay without putting in hard work, because again, we got the Nine of Wands here in terms of pay. So we have to take it in context of the reading as a whole. So I would tell the client, yes, you definitely have options. You could expand your roles. You could put in different, responsibilities. There is flexibility within the company, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you would be compensated for that flexibility. You might have to work extra hard to have that compensation, that upward mobility within the company. But there are options. There is multiple paths for you to take. So that is a hypothetical reading that I would give a client on a job using my tarot spread. And like I said, you can take this spread, but it's very important that you customize it to suit the needs of the client, right? You want to adapt the spread to make sure that it reflects what is important to the person that you're reading for. What matters to them when it comes to whether or not they should take a job or take a career or pursue something. Really have them sit down and work through what matters to them and why. So if I was reading for this hypothetical client, right, I would first look at the pros and cons of the spread. This would be the aftermath, kind of think of it like the after action of the reading. And this is another thing that to me sets apart a really good reader from a mediocre one is, okay, now I've pulled these cards, we've had this information, now let's talk about it. Let's talk about, how do you feel about this reading? Does it make sense? Are there concerns? Let's talk about this in the context of the job now. So I would first talk about, hey, I'm looking at the cards that I have here, and I've got 4 cards that are cup cards. So there's a lot of emotion tied up in this job. And 2 cards that are wands. So I don't get any pentacles, I don't get any swords. So right off the bat, I would say this job is more of an emotional job than an intellectual job. Emotional because I get a lot of cups and I get no swords. So there's a lot of emotional decision making that comes with this particular job. It's going to be an emotionally investment kind of a job. You're going to feel like, I would then ask the client questions like, are you the type of person that wants to be emotionally invested in your career, your work, or do you prefer something that's more intellectual? How do you feel about having a job where your emotions are the primary energy in that role, compared to money, right? Or something else. So then we would talk about kind of the aftermath of that. And I would definitely talk about the weaknesses. So the 4 of Wands here. So home and lifestyle. And maybe we would pull some additional cards to see, okay, if this job doesn't give me the work-life balance that I'm looking for, or where is this job located? Is this someplace that I would want to settle down, that I would want to live in? And we would have continuous conversation after the reading itself. And I find that this is very helpful because, again, we want to respect the free will of the client. And my job as a tarot reader is not to preach to people about what decisions to make. It's to help them logically work through things to come to their own conclusions, to come to their own decision making. So based off of the information that they get in the tarot reading, how do they want to process that information? Because not all jobs are good, not all jobs are bad. Some of them are nuanced. Sometimes we have benefits that are really great, but then we've got things that we give up in order to get those benefits, right? So it seems like a boss here, he's really chill, he's very easygoing, he's very flexible. The Page of Cups, right? That's something that's really important to my client. But money, it does not come easy at this job. Right? The Knight of Wands, it's going to require a lot of work and a lot of energy. And so that would be a discussion that I would have with them. Hey, how do you feel about giving up one thing for the other? How do you feel? What value is it to you to have a boss who is playful and low-key and accepting of flexibility, but the pay isn't quite as easy as you would like it to be, right? So then I would ask them questions and we would have that discussion. And that is a very valuable aspect of giving a reading that really elevates a tarot reading to the next level, because you want to engage the client. You want them to think about it. Anyway, so that is an example that I would give to a client who was maybe considering taking a job. Those are the 3 approaches, the 3 steps that I would use. Step 1 is analyze the client themselves. What is important to you? What matters to you? Interview the client. Make sure that you analyze the question in the context of what is most important to the client. Not what you think it is, not what some, other people think job is, but you want to tailor the spread for the person that you're reading. That's number 1. Number 2 is the spread itself. And then number 3 is After you've completed the reading, then talk to your client about them. Ask them questions. Say, hey, in this reading, this is what I got. How do you feel about that? What do you think about this? Let's talk about it. Because a lot of strategic clarity comes through conversation, and tarot is very much a conversation starter. If I give you this answer, how do you feel about that response? It kind of reminds me of like, when people are stuck and they're trying to make a decision and they're like, I don't know what to make. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think about this thing that I have. And they just take a coin and they flip the coin. And if it's heads, they make this decision. If it's tails, they make that decision. And then after they flip a coin and they get heads or tails, now that they see heads or tails, it changes the way that they think about the problem. And sometimes it reveals to them, oh, you know what? This does matter to me more, or this doesn't matter to me as much as I thought it did. Or now that I'm actually sitting here having a conversation with my tarot reader about the results of the reading, now I'm starting to shift in my perspective or shift in my opinion about how I want to solve this problem. And that is truly the power of getting a tarot reading when you're trying to figure out a decision. is not the tarot spread is one aspect of it, but revealing yourself, your true intentions, what really matters to you, and then going through the exercise and then having the discussion afterwards, all three of those combined, that's what makes a very powerful reading when it comes to decision making. Now, in this hypothetical example, we used a career, but it could be anything. It could be any decision that someone is trying to make in their life. You can adapt anything to a tarot reading and really elevate and enhance the decision-making process for your client, while also, of course, respecting their free will and helping them along the way. Tarot is such a powerful tool for it. And I love to use tarot in this way. I love to help people make decisions or compare and contrast things, especially if it's complicated, especially if it's not always black and white. So tarot can be very, very helpful in that way. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you guys would want me to share more tarot spreads with you and example readings, I'm happy to. Just let me know. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.